Clara clutched the small gold locket between her fingers as she stared at the cracked ceiling of the small flat on the outskirts of Liverpool. The cries of little John, her son of only 3 months, echoed through the thin walls, mingling with the sound of the rain that insisted on falling that November afternoon. It had been 6 months since her world had collapsed when Mark, John's father, disappeared as soon as he learned of the pregnancy. With no money, no job, and a sick mother to care for, Clara found herself cornered by life. "You have to be strong, Clara," she murmured to herself as she got up to pick up her son from the makeshift crib in a cardboard box. "You have to be strong for him." The smell of breast milk permeated her blouse, a constant reminder of what she would not be able to offer her son for much longer. In a few hours, she would board a flight to London, where she would start working as a nanny for a wealthy family. A decision that broke her heart into 1,000 pieces, but which she saw as the only way out. Camilla, her older sister, entered the room with an old suitcase in her hands. Her eyes met Clara's in the broken mirror. "Is everything ready?" Camilla asked, her voice heavy with concern. "I'm scared, Clara. What if this is a trap?" Clara turned, holding John against her chest. "It's our only chance, Cam. The salary is 5 times more than I could ever make here. With that money, I can bring John to live with me in 6 months. We can rent a decent place, give him a better life." "But to be separated from him now, he's so small," said Camilla, running her fingers through her nephew's curly hair. "And this family, you know almost nothing about them." "I know the gentleman is a widower and needs someone to take care of his daughter. I know they pay well, and I know I have no other choice," Clara replied, her voice choked with emotion. "You'll take care of him, won't you? Promise you'll take good care of my boy." Camilla hugged her sister and nephew. "With my life, Clara. He'll be my son while you're away." The farewell at the airport was more painful than Clara had imagined. John slept in her arms, oblivious to the emotional storm brewing around him. With tears streaming down her face, Clara handed her son to her sister, along with a small bag containing frozen breast milk, diapers, and clothes. "Come back soon, little warrior," she whispered, kissing her son's forehead one last time before handing him to Camilla. "Mummy will come back for you." In the departure lounge, Clara felt the weight of the separation like a pang in her chest. Her breasts, full of milk, ached, a constant reminder of her distant son. Every movement was an annoyance, every step a torture. While waiting for the boarding call, she watched the other passengers, businesswomen in impeccable suits, laughing families, couples holding hands. They all seemed to belong to a different world from hers. The flight took off as the sun set on the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. Clara, sitting in economy class, tried to distract herself with the airline magazine, but her thoughts kept returning to John. Was he crying? Would Camilla know what to do? Would he miss her? The cry of a baby in business class interrupted her thoughts. It was a sharp, desperate cry that pierced. The noise of the turbines. The sound immediately activated her maternal instinct, and she felt her milk leak, wetting her blouse even more. By reflex, her hands went to her breasts, trying to ease the pain. Curious, she stood up slightly to see the source of the crying. An elegantly dressed man with dark hair, slightly disheveled and tired eyes, was trying to calm a baby girl of about 2 months. He offered a bottle, but the baby rejected it, turning her face away and crying even louder. Clara watched the scene for a few minutes. The man seemed increasingly desperate, trying different positions, rocking the baby in his arms, whispering words that didn't reach economy class. The flight attendant tried to help, offering water, a toy, but nothing worked. Clara's instinct spoke louder than her shame or fear. She stood up, her heart pounding, and walked towards business class. The other passengers looked on with disapproval, but she didn't care. She had to help. "Excuse me," she said, approaching the man. I heard the young lady crying." The man looked up, surprised. His eyes were dark brown, intense, and revealed a mixture of frustration and worry. "Sorry for the disturbance," he said, trying to smile. "Laura's been like this since we boarded. I don't know what else to do." Clara looked at the baby, who was now watching her with curious eyes, her crying slightly subsiding. She felt the milk leaking, visibly staining her blouse. I have milk," she said, her voice almost a whisper, her face blushing. "Breast milk. If you'd like, I can feed her." The man froze, his eyes wide with shock. For a moment, Clara feared he would send her away, that he would consider her crazy or inappropriate, but the desperation in his eyes gave way to hesitation, then to consideration. You would do that?" he asked, his voice filled with disbelief. "Why would you do that for a stranger?" "Because I'm a mother," Clara replied simply, "and because I know what it's like to see your child crying from hunger and not know what to do." The man looked at his daughter, then at Clara. He took a deep breath, as if making a monumental decision. "Please," he said, holding the baby out to her. "If you can help, please." Clara took little Laura in her arms. The baby stopped crying immediately, looking at her with curiosity. Carefully, Clara sat in the seat next to the man, adjusted her blouse, and offered her breast to the baby. Laura didn't hesitate, latching on and starting to nurse voraciously. The silence that followed was almost sacred. The crying stopped, replaced by the soft sound of suckling. The man let out a sigh of relief so deep that his body seemed to relax completely. "Thank you," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "I don't know how to thank you. We've been trying for hours. Her mother, she left us 2 weeks. Ego said she wasn't ready to be a mother." Clara looked at him, surprised. "I'm so sorry. Laura is beautiful." "Thank you. It's Lucas, by the way. Lucas Marshall." Clara Evans." They sat in silence for a few minutes while Laura continued to nurse. Clara felt a strange connection to this baby and this man, as if fate had placed them on that plane, at that specific moment. "Are you a mother too?" Lucas asked gently. Clara nodded, her throat tight. "I have a son, John. He's 3 months old. He stayed with my sister in Liverpool." "Liverpool? Are you moving to London?" Clara hesitated, then decided to be honest. "I'm going to work as a nanny. I need the money. John's father disappeared when he found out about the pregnancy. I was left alone." Lucas frowned. "I'm sorry. That's a difficult situation. The lady who's hiring me, she found me through an agency. She pays well, enough to bring John to live with me in a few months." Lucas watched Laura, who was now nursing more calmly, her eyes beginning to close with sleep. "What agency?" he asked, a little too casually. "Premium Care. The lady's name is Regina Beaumont. They said she's a widow and needs help with her daughter." Lucas turned pale. He looked at Clara, then at Laura, then back at Clara again. "Regina Beaumont," he said, his voice low. "My ex-mother-in-law." Clara felt a chill down her spine. "What? But they said you were a widower." "I lied. In the ad. To protect Laura. To avoid questions. Regina. She doesn't know I'm taking Laura to London. She thinks we're visiting my parents." Clara felt panic set in. "So, the job doesn't exist," Lucas completed, his voice laden with guilt. "I created the ad. I needed to find someone special, someone who truly loved children, someone like you." Laura finished nursing and fell asleep in Clara's arms. Lucas looked at the scene with an expression Clara couldn't decipher, a mixture of relief, guilt, and something else. Hope. "I know I have no right to ask anything after this," Lucas said, his voice low. "But you're out of a job now, and I need someone to take care of Laura. Someone she loves. Someone who will love her back." Clara felt the world spin. Everything she had planned, everything she had fought for, was crumbling in that moment. She was in mid-air on her way to a life that didn't exist, with a son far away and no prospects. I don't know what to say," she stammered. "Think about it," Lucas said. "At least until we land. I'll cover your expenses. Whatever your decision, I'll make sure you're safe, and if you decide to help me, I'll pay you double what they promised. And more importantly, I'll use all my resources to bring your son to London. Immediately. Clara looked at the sleeping baby in her arms, then at Lucas. In his eyes, she saw the same desperation she felt, the same need to protect, to love, to give the best to his child. And she also saw an opportunity, a chance to be near her own son, to build a better life for him. "I need to think," she said softly, handing Laura back into her father's arms. "I need to process all of this." Lucas nodded, understanding. "Of course. Get some rest. When we land, we'll talk more. No pressure." Clara returned to her seat in economy class, her mind in turmoil. What would she do? Trust a man who had deceived her? Accept such an unexpected proposal? She looked out the window at the approaching city lights below. London glittered like a million promises, some true, others false. And she, Clara Evans, a single mother from Liverpool, was about to discover what her destiny would be in that gigantic city. The plane landed with a gentle bump at Heathrow Airport. Clara felt her stomach churn as passengers began to stand up, retrieving their luggage from the overhead compartments. She remained seated, unsure of what to do. The plan she had meticulously crafted over the past few weeks had completely disintegrated, leaving her in a limbo of frightening possibilities. Lucas appeared beside her, with Laura sleeping in a fabric sling strapped to his chest. The baby looked peaceful, a world away from the crying child who had tormented business class hours before. "Ready?" he asked softly. Clara nodded, grabbing her small roller bag. "I think so." "Let's get your luggage, and then we'll talk somewhere more private," Lucas suggested, guiding her through the jet bridge. As they walked, Clara felt the curious stares of other passengers. Some recognized her as the woman who had breastfed the baby in business class. Others simply noted the disparity between Lucas's appearance, impeccably dressed in an expensive suit, and hers, with her milk-stained blouse and simple clothes. At the baggage claim area, Lucas pointed to 2 elegant suitcases with luxury tags. "Those are mine. And yours?" Clara indicated an old, worn suitcase with a red ribbon tied to the handle for identification. Lucas picked it up without hesitation, adding it to his own luggage as if it were the most natural thing in the world. "Let's go," he said, guiding her towards the exit. A sleek black car was already waiting for them outside, with a uniformed driver who opened the doors for them. Clara felt out of place, as if she were living someone else's life. The car's interior smelled of new leather and expensive cologne, a world away from her small flat in Liverpool. Where are we going to talk?" Clara asked, her voice a little shaky. "My house," Lucas replied, adjusting the sling carrying Laura. "It's more private there, and you need to see where you'd be living if you decide to stay." The car drove through the streets of London, passing through increasingly affluent neighborhoods. Clara watched the luxury shops, the elegant buildings, the well-dressed people on the sidewalks. She felt like an intruder in this world, an observer of a life she had never imagined she could experience. Finally, the car turned towards a massive gate on a tree-lined street in Kensington. The gate opened to reveal an immaculate garden and an impressive mansion. Clara gasped, surprised by the sheer scale of the property. "This is your house?" she asked, incredulous. "Yes," Lucas replied, a little embarrassed. "I know it's a lot. I inherited it from my parents, and the business has been doing well." The driver parked the car in the circular driveway, and an elegant middle-aged woman opened the main door. "Mr. Marshall, welcome back," she said with a warm smile. "And who is this young lady?" "Mrs. Martha, this is Clara. She's a friend." "Clara, this is Mrs. Martha, the housekeeper. She's worked for my family since I was a child." Mrs. Martha greeted Clara with a nod, her eyes curious. "A pleasure. Dinner is served in the main dining room, should you be hungry." "Just a light snack for us, please, Mrs. Martha. And please prepare the main guest room for Clara," Lucas requested. Clara felt uncomfortable with the way Lucas made decisions for her, but said nothing. She followed him through the majestic entrance, with its white marble floors and spiral staircase that looked like something out of a Hollywood movie. "Your house is stunning," Clara managed to say as they walked down a wide hallway lined with paintings. It's too much for two people, Lucas admitted, but Laura deserves space to grow, and well, I work a lot, so I don't spend as much time here as I'd like. He led her to a cozy room with comfortable armchairs and a fireplace. Mrs. Martha appeared moments later with a tray containing sandwiches, fruit and juice. "May I take Miss Laura to get her ready for the night, Mr. Marshall?" Mrs. Martha asked. "Please, Mrs. Martha, and prepare the crib in the room next to mine as well," Lucas said, carefully handing the baby to the housekeeper. When they were alone, Lucas turned to Clara. "Please sit down. We need to talk." Clara sat in an armchair, her hands trembling in her lap. "I know you lied to me, and I know I don't have a job, but why? Why create this fake ad? Why?" Lucas sighed, running his fingers through his hair. After she left, I was alone with Laura. I hired 3 different nannies. None lasted more than a week. They treated Laura like a job, not a child. Laura cried constantly, refused to eat, lost weight. The doctor said it was stress, that she felt her mother's absence. He paused, looking at the flames in the fireplace. I was desperate. A friend suggested hiring someone through a specialized agency, but I didn't want another professional nanny. I wanted someone with a maternal instinct, someone who naturally loved children. So I created the ad. I thought that if I found someone willing to move to take care of a baby, maybe she would be the right person. "And you found me," Clara completed softly. "Yes. And so much more than I could have ever imagined," Lucas said, his eyes meeting hers. "When you offered to breastfeed Laura, see, Clara, it was the most generous thing I have ever witnessed. You didn't know me, you knew nothing about me, but you saw a child in need, and you acted. That's what Laura needs, that's what I need." Clara felt her face flush. Clara felt, "I just did what any mother would do." "No, you didn't," Lucas countered. "Many people wouldn't. Many people would worry about what others would think, about convention, about fear. You didn't. You acted from the heart." He leaned forward, his eyes intense. "I know I've asked a lot. I know I deceived you, and for that I apologize. But now, being honest, I want to make you an offer. A real offer." Clara nodded, her heart pounding. "I want you to be Laura's nanny. I want you to care for her as if she were your own daughter. I'm offering you a monthly salary of £20,000, plus all expenses paid, housing, food, transportation. I want you to have the best room in the house, not a servant's room. I want you to be treated as part of the family, not as an employee." Clara gasped. £20,000 a month was more than she had ever dreamed of earning. It was enough to send for John immediately, to rent a decent flat, to give him a life he never had. "And more," Lucas continued. "As soon as you accept, I will start the process to bring your son here. I have lawyers who can expedite everything. In 2 weeks at most, John can be with you. I want you both to live here with me and Laura. I want John to have a sister, for Laura to have a brother. I want them to grow up together." Clara felt tears streaming down her face. The offer was almost too good to be true. It was everything she wanted, everything she had fought for, offered so unexpectedly. "Why would you do all this?" she asked, her voice thick with emotion. "Why would you care so much about me and my son? We're strangers." Lucas smiled, a sad smile. "Because I see in you what I lost. I see a mother's unconditional love. I see someone who would do anything for her child. And because Laura smiled for the first time in weeks when she was in your arms. Because she ate for the first time without crying when she was with you. That's priceless, Clara. No amount of money in the world can buy that." He stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the moonlit garden. "I had a difficult childhood too. My parents were poor. My father was a mechanic, my mother a cleaner. We lived in a simple neighborhood in East London. I managed to get into a good school on a scholarship, then a top university. I worked hard to get where I am. But sometimes I feel like I lost something along the way. Simplicity, the ability to trust, the ability to love without fear." He turned to her, his eyes shining. "When you offered to breastfeed Laura, it was as if the universe sent me a sign that there is still goodness in the world, that there are still people who genuinely care about others." Clara wiped her tears, trying to process everything. It's a lot to take in. I need to think. I need to talk to my sister. Of course, Lucas said, returning to her side. Stay here tonight. Rest. In the morning you can decide. If you say no, I understand. I'll pay for your ticket back to Liverpool, plus compensation for the inconvenience. If you say yes, well, then we'll start a new life. Together. He extended his hand. I'll show you to your room. Clara followed him up the majestic staircase to a hallway on the second floor. Lucas opened the door to a huge room with a king-size bed, a balcony overlooking the garden, and a private bathroom with a whirlpool tub. It's beautiful, Clara said, impressed. But it's too much for me. It's not, Lucas countered. It's the least I can offer. There are clothes in the wardrobe. I bought a few things, thinking, well, hoping you would stay. If they don't fit, Mrs. Martha can take you shopping tomorrow. He pointed to an adjoining door. This is Laura's room. We made a connection between the rooms so you can hear her during the night. And next to it there's another identical room which can be for John when he arrives. Clara entered Laura's room. It was perfectly decorated in soft shades of pink and grey, with an elegant crib, a nursing chair, and a changing table. Next to it, as Lucas had said, was another room, still empty, but clearly prepared for a baby. It's a dream, Clara whispered, imagining John in that room, playing with Laura in the future. It can be a reality, Lucas said softly. The choice is yours. He left her alone in the room, closing the door gently behind him. Clara walked to the balcony, looking out at the moonlit garden. The London night breeze kissed her face, and she felt the weight of the decision on her shoulders. She picked up the phone Lucas had given her upon arrival, a latest generation model very different from her old device that barely worked, and called Camilla. Clara, did you arrive safely? How was the flight? Her sister asked, worried. I arrived, Cam. I'm fine, Clara said, trying to keep her voice steady. But something happened, something unexpected. She told her everything, Lucas's lie, the offer, the mansion, the salary, the promise to bring John. Camilla listened in silence, interrupting only with small sounds of understanding. I don't know what to do, Cam, Clara concluded. It's all so perfect, so unreal. But he lied to me. How can I trust him? Clara, you saw him with his daughter, Camilla said after a moment of reflection. You saw him desperate. You saw how he cares for her. A man like that wouldn't harm you or John. And the opportunity... Clara, it's the chance of a lifetime. The chance to give John everything we never had. But the distance... And I barely know him, Clara argued. You know him enough to know he loves his daughter. You know him enough to know he would do anything for her. That's what matters, Camilla said. And you won't be alone. I'll come visit. And if anything goes wrong, you can always come back. Clara felt relief in her sister's words. You think I should accept? I think you should give it a chance, Camilla replied. For John, for you, for the possibility of a better life. After hanging up, Clara stayed on the balcony for a while longer, looking at the stars that were barely visible through the city's glow. She thought of John, of his smile, his smell, of what it would be like to see him grow up in a place like this, with opportunities she never had. She thought of Lucas, of his sincere eyes, his vulnerability when he spoke of his daughter, his sadness when he mentioned the wife who had abandoned them. She thought of Laura, of how the baby had calmed down in her arms, as if feeling the maternal love emanating from her. Finally, with her heart still uncertain but her mind clearer, Clara made a decision. She went back inside, closed the balcony door, and lay down on the soft bed. For the first time in months she felt hopeful. For the first time in a long time, she believed that maybe, just maybe, the future could be better than the past. The next morning, Clara woke up to the sun's rays streaming through the window. For a moment she forgot where she was, confused by the elegance of the room. Then it all came back to her. The flight, Lucas, Laura, the offer. She got up and took a long bath in the whirlpool. Tub feeling her worries dissolve in the hot water. She put on one of the new outfits Lucas had bought, a simple but elegant summer dress made of a soft fabric she had never felt before. When she went down for breakfast, she found Lucas on the veranda, with Laura in his lap, feeding her with a bottle. The baby smiled when she saw her, stretching her arms out towards her. "Good morning," Lucas said, returning the smile. "Did you sleep well?" "Yes, very well, thank you," Clara replied, sitting at the table. "And you?" "Me too. Mrs. Martha has prepared a special breakfast. I hope you like it." As they ate, Clara watched the interaction between Lucas and Laura. She saw the love in his eyes, the dedication in every gesture, the concern in every glance. She saw a man who was learning to be a father alone, doing the best he could. "Have you decided?" Lucas asked softly. Clara took a deep breath. "Yes, I accept. I want to take care of Laura. I want to bring my son here. I want to try." Lucas's smile was radiant. "You won't regret it, Clara, I promise. I'll do everything. I'll do. To make you and John happy here." He extended his hand across the table, and Clara placed hers in it. For the first time, she felt that maybe, just maybe, she had found not just a job, but a new family, a new life, a new chance at happiness. The first few days in Lucas's mansion were a mixture of awe and adaptation for Clara. Every morning, she woke to sunbeams filtering through silk curtains, a stark contrast to the small flat in Liverpool where the windows barely let in light. Mrs. Martha always prepared a lavish breakfast with fresh fruit, artisanal breads and natural juices, an abundance Clara was still getting used to. Laura adapted quickly to her presence. The baby, once irritable and fussy, now smiled easily, slept better, and ate with pleasure. Clara discovered little things about the girl, that she liked soft classical music, preferred warm baths, and fell asleep faster when rocked with a lullaby Clara had learned from her own mother. Lucas, for his part, seemed to relax with each day he saw his daughter happier. He spent more time at home, working from his office but always taking breaks to visit Laura and Clara. He watched them with a look of gratitude, as if Clara had returned something precious he had feared was lost forever. That afternoon, while Laura slept, Lucas found Clara in the garden, sitting on a bench under a leafy tree. "May I join you?" he asked. Clara nodded, moving to make space. "Of course." They sat in silence for a few moments, watching the butterflies dance among the flowers. "Mrs. Martha told me Laura ate everything you prepared for lunch," Lucas said, breaking the silence. "She's never done that before." "She just needed a little affection," Clara replied softly. "And food that tastes like home instead of restaurant food." Lucas smiled. "You have a gift, Clara, a gift for taking care of people." "I just do what my heart tells me," she said, looking down at her hands. "It's always been that way with me." "And with John?" Lucas asked gently. "How is he?" Clara felt a pang of longing. "I spoke with Camilla this morning. He's well. He started smiling at people. He can hold his head up on his own now. He's growing up too fast." "The lawyers are working on the paperwork," Lucas informed her. "I hope he can be here by next week." "Thank you, Lucas, for everything," Clara said sincerely. "I know you don't have to do so much for us." "I want to," he replied. "Seeing the happiness on Laura's face, it's worth more than all the money in the world. And seeing you happy, well, that's become important to me too." Clara felt her face flush. She quickly changed the subject. "Mrs. Martha told me a little about you, about your parents, about how you grew up." Lucas nodded, a little surprised. "Yes, my parents died a few years ago, my father from a heart attack, my mother from pneumonia soon after. I think one didn't want to live without the other." "I'm so sorry," Clara said. "They were wonderful people. Simple, but wonderful. My father worked as a mechanic in a garage in Bethnal Green. My mother was a cleaner in buildings in Stepney. They worked hard their whole lives to give me the best. They sacrificed everything so I could study at a private school," Lucas said with a nostalgic smile. "I hated that school. I felt like I didn't belong. The other kids had cars, designer clothes, they traveled abroad. I had patched trousers and second-hand sandals. But you were smart," Clara deduced. Yes, and my father noticed. He took me to the public library every Saturday. He read with me, explained things to me. When I won a full scholarship to study at a top university, he cried. He said all the sacrifice had been worth it, Lucas said, his voice choked with emotion. Unfortunately, he didn't live to see me graduate. He died 6 months before. And your mother? She saw me graduate. She died a year later. Sometimes I feel they died of exhaustion from working so much, Lucas said, looking up at the sky. But they left a legacy. They taught me the value of hard work, of honesty, of love. He turned to Clara. That's why I value what you do so much, because I see my parents in you. I see the same sacrifice, the same unconditional love. Clara felt tears in her eyes. My parents were like that too. My father was a bus driver. My mother was a seamstress. They worked day and night. When my mother got sick, breast cancer, we sold everything for her treatment. We still couldn't save her. I'm so sorry, Lucas said, taking her hand. She died when I was 16. My father never recovered. He died 2 years later from a heart problem. Sometimes I think he died of a broken heart, Clara said, her voice trembling. I was left with just Camilla. She always took care of me. Now I take care of her in a way. Are you very close? Lucas asked. Yes. She's 7 years older. She's like a second mother to me. When I got pregnant, she was the first person to know. She never judged me, she just hugged me. Anne said we'd be in it together, Clara said with a sad smile. She quit her job to take care of John while I looked for work. She's the most generous person I know. You're lucky to have her, Lucas said, just as Laura is lucky to have you. They fell silent again, but now the silence was different, more intimate, more laden with mutual understanding. You've never spoken about Lucas's wife, Clara said hesitantly. About Laura's mother. Lucas sighed, his face closing up a little. Gabriella, we met at university. She came from a wealthy family, very different from mine. Beautiful, intelligent, ambitious. I fell head over heels in love. I think because she represented everything I wasn't. Sophisticated, well-traveled, confident. And did she fall in love with you? I think so. In the beginning, we were very happy. We got married right after graduation. I started building my company. She worked at a bank. Everything seemed perfect, Lucas said, looking into the distance. But then, something changed. She started to feel pressured. With work, with her family's expectations, with the life we were leading. And when Laura was born, Gabriella never wanted children. I knew that, but I thought she would change her mind. That when she saw our daughter's face... Lucas paused, swallowing hard. But it didn't happen. She got postpartum depression, severe. She couldn't hold Laura, couldn't look at her without crying. And you? How did you handle it? Clara asked softly. The best way I could. I hired a nurse to help. I tried to talk to Gabriella, to take her to doctors, but she refused to leave her room. She said she wasn't a good mother, that Laura deserved someone better, Lucas said, his voice full of pain. Then one day she just left. She left a note saying she needed time, that she wasn't ready to be a mother, that she loved me but didn't love the life we had. You never heard from her again? Once. She called from an unknown number, months later, asked about Laura. I told her she was fine, that she was being cared for. She asked me not to try to find her, said she wasn't good for us. And she hung up, Lucas said, wiping away a tear. Sometimes I wake up at night and think, where is she? Is she okay? Does she miss her daughter? But then I look at Laura, see how happy she is now, and I know I made the right choice. Clara squeezed his hand. You did what anyone would do for the good of their child, and you're being a wonderful father to her. I'm trying, Lucas said. With your help, I'm succeeding. That night, after putting Laura to bed, Clara went to the kitchen for a glass of water. She found Lucas in his office, his head in his hands, staring at the computer screen. Trouble at work? She asked softly. Lucas looked up, surprised. Oh, Clara, no, not at all, just thinking. He stood up and walked to the window which overlooked the moonlit garden. I was looking at old photos From our university days. Of Gabriella and me, he said, his voice low. Sometimes I miss the person she used to be, the woman I married. It's normal to miss someone, Clara said, coming closer. Love doesn't just disappear. But love should be enough, shouldn't it? Lucas asked, turning to her. It should be enough to overcome any obstacle, to overcome depression, fear, insecurity. Sometimes people fight battles we don't understand, Clara said. Sometimes love isn't enough to heal the deepest wounds. Have you ever loved someone like that? Lucas asked, his eyes intense. Clara hesitated. I loved Mark, or I thought I did. In the beginning, he was affectionate, attentive. He said he loved me, that he would do anything for us. But when he found out about the pregnancy, everything changed. He pulled away, became distant, until one day he just disappeared. He left a text message saying he wasn't ready to be a father. I'm sorry, Lucas said. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if he had stayed, if we would have been happy, Clara said with a sad smile. But then I look at John and I know that even without him we will be happy, together, him and me. You won't be alone, Lucas said, moving even closer. You have Camilla, and now you have us. You have Laura, and you have me. Clara felt her heart race. There was something in Lucas's gaze, something that went beyond gratitude, something that spoke of connection, of affection, of possibility. Lucas, she began, but he stopped her with a gesture. I know it's still early. I know you're going through a lot of changes. And I don't want to pressure you, but I need to say this, he said, taking her hands. From the moment you stood up on that plane to offer help to a stranger, my life changed. It wasn't just Laura you saved. It was me, too. He ran his thumb over the back of her hand, a simple gesture that sent waves of warmth through Clara's entire body. I didn't expect this, he continued. I didn't expect to feel what I'm feeling. But it's real, Clara. As real as the love I feel for my daughter. As real as the admiration I feel for you. Clara felt tears in her eyes, but this time they weren't of sadness. They were of emotion, of hope, of something blooming inside her, something she didn't dare to name. I don't know what to say, she stammered. You don't have to say anything, Lucas replied softly. Just stay. Stay with us. Let us be a part of your life, just as you've already become a part of ours. He leaned in and kissed her forehead, a gesture of tenderness, of respect, of promise. Clara closed her eyes, savoring the moment, feeling the walls she had built around her heart begin to crumble. That night, lying in her luxurious bed, Clara couldn't sleep. Her mind raced with the day's conversations, with the revelations, with the kiss on her forehead. She felt torn between the fear of getting hurt again and the hope of a new chance at love. She thought of John, of how he would react to Lucas, to Laura. She thought of Camilla, of her initial distrust, but her unconditional support. She thought of herself, of the woman she was becoming. Stronger, more confident, more open to life's possibilities. Finally, with her heart still uncertain but her soul lighter, Clara fell asleep, dreaming of a future where two babies grew up together like siblings, where an unlikely family found happiness in each other's arms, where love was born from generosity and strengthened by adversity. A future that, for the first time in a long time, seemed not only possible, but within her grasp. The following week was a whirlwind of preparations and emotions. Lucas kept his promise to the letter, and the paperwork to bring John and Camilla to London progressed with a speed Clara considered miraculous. Every day she received updates from Lucas's lawyers, and every day her heart beat faster with the impending reunion with her son. Meanwhile, life in the mansion settled into a comfortable and affectionate routine. Clara and Laura developed a deep, almost telepathic connection. The baby seemed to understand her moods, crying when Clara was anxious and smiling when she was happy. Lucas watched this interaction with a mixture of admiration and jealousy, not a negative jealousy, but a sweet one from someone who wished to be part of that magical circle of maternal love. That morning, as Clara fed Laura some fruit puree, Lucas entered the kitchen with a radiant smile. "I have some news," he said, showing her a message on his phone. "The visas have been approved. John and Camilla can come tomorrow." Clara dropped the spoon, her eyes wide. "Tomorrow? Already?" "Tomorrow," Lucas confirmed. "I've sent the private jet to pick them up in Liverpool. They'll arrive here late afternoon." Clara felt a wave of emotion so strong she could barely breathe. I don't know what to say." "Lucas." "Thank you." "No need to thank me," he said, hugging her from behind. "It's the least I can do. I'm as happy as you are." That night, Clara barely slept. She spent hours preparing John's room, checking every detail: the right-size diapers, the sleep suits Lucas had bought, the crib set up next to Laura's. Mrs. Martha watched her with an understanding smile, occasionally helping with a piece of advice or an adjustment. "He's going to love it here, my dear," the housekeeper said, putting an arm around Clara's shoulders. "This place will be a home for him." "I hope so," Clara said with tears in her eyes. "I'm so afraid he won't recognize me, that he'll find everything strange." "He'll recognize love, Clara, and love doesn't change no matter the place," Mrs. Martha said wisely. The next day, time seemed to drag. Clara checked the clock every 5 minutes, her stomach in knots with anxiety. Lucas tried to distract her, showing her the garden, talking about trivial matters. But Clara's mind was 1,000 miles away on a plane approaching London. Finally, late in the afternoon, the sound of the car pulling into the driveway made Clara's heart leap. She ran to the entrance, with Lucas right behind her. The door opened and Camilla walked in with John in her arms. Clara stopped, her breath caught in her throat. John had grown. He was bigger, stronger, with rosy cheeks and curious eyes that scanned the unfamiliar surroundings. "Clara," Camilla said with a tired smile, "we brought your boy." Clara ran and took her son in her arms, tears streaming freely down her face. John looked at her for a moment, his eyes furrowed in confusion. Then a smile lit up his face as he recognized his mother's scent, her voice, her touch. "My love, my little love," Clara whispered, covering John's face with kisses. "Mummy missed you so much. So much." The reunion was intense, emotional, cathartic. Clara couldn't let go of her son, fearing he would disappear if she did. John, for his part, seemed content to be in his mother's arms, though his curious eyes continued to explore the new environment. Lucas watched the scene with a tender smile, but his eyes met Camilla's, who was observing everything with evident caution. "Camilla, welcome," Lucas said, approaching. "I hope you had a good trip." "It was fast," Camilla replied, still sizing everything up. "Thank you for sending the plane. It was an experience." "It was the least I could do, Lucas said. "Clara has brought us so much happiness. I wanted to repay it somehow." Camilla nodded, but her gaze remained wary. "Where is she staying? Where are we staying?" "Clara has a room here in the house, and I've prepared another room for you if you'd like to stay with us while you settle in," Lucas said gently. "Or if you prefer, I can book a suite at a nearby hotel. The choice is yours." Camilla hesitated, looking at Clara, who was still holding her son close. I'd rather stay close to Clara, at least for the first few days." "Of course," Lucas said. "Mrs. Martha will take your bags to your room, and if you need anything, just ask." Mrs. Martha appeared and smiled warmly at Camilla. "Welcome, dear. I'll show you to your room. It's lovely, with a view of the garden." Camilla followed Mrs. Martha, still a bit reluctant, but clearly impressed by the hospitality. That evening, dinner was a tense but hopeful event. Clara sat between Lucas and Camilla, with John in her lap. Laura was sleeping in her crib in the next room. "The house is impressive," Camilla said, looking around the elegant dining room. "It's all very much." "I know it's a lot," Lucas said with an embarrassed smile, "but I hope you'll feel at home here." "We'll try," Camilla said, her gaze meeting Clara's, "for John's sake." After dinner, while Lucas took some work calls, Camilla confronted Clara in her room. "Clara, I need to be honest. she said, her voice low. "I'm worried. This all seems too good to be true. A rich man who just decides to take care of you and your son. Who pays to bring your sister here? What's his agenda, Clara?" Clara sighed, having expected this conversation. "I understand your concern, Cam. I was suspicious at first too, but Lucas he's different. He's good, Cam. He loves his daughter more than anything in the world, and he's hurting. His wife abandoned him, left him alone with a 2-week-old baby." "And that justifies everything?" Camilla asked. "Clara, men like him, they always want something in return." "He doesn't want anything in return," Clara said firmly. "Well, he wants one thing. He wants me to take care of Laura, and he wants John and me to be happy, that's it. And you, what do you want from him?" Camilla asked, her gaze piercing. Clara hesitated. I don't know. I like him, Cam, a lot. He's kind, intelligent, caring. He treats me with respect. He makes me feel special." "But do you love him?" Camilla insisted. "I don't know," Clara admitted. "Maybe not yet, but I feel like I could love him if I let myself." Camilla sighed, hugging her sister. "I just want to see you happy, Clara, and safe. Promise me you'll be careful." "Promise?" "I promise," Clara said, returning the hug. The next morning, Clara woke to the sound of John crying. She got up quickly and went to the adjoining room, finding Lucas already there, trying to soothe the baby. "Sorry, I woke up with the crying and thought I'd let you rest," Lucas said, handing John to Clara. "It's okay," Clara said, taking her son in her arms. "He's just hungry." She sat in the nursing chair, preparing to feed John. Lucas stood watching, a look of tenderness on his face. "You're a wonderful mother," he said softly. "I see the way you care for him, for Laura. It's natural. It's part of who you are." "I just love my children," Clara said, blushing. "Our children," Lucas corrected gently. Clara looked at him, surprised. "What?" "Our children," Lucas repeated. "John is your son, I know that, but I see him as mine too, and Laura, she's your daughter too, Clara. From the way you love her, the way she responds to you." Clara felt her heart pound. "Lucas, I know it's early to say this, but it's how I feel," he said, moving closer. "When I see you with both of them, I see a family, a complete family, the family I've always dreamed of having. Emily knelt beside the chair, taking Clara's free hand. "I know I'm scared. I know you are too, but we can't let fear stop us from being happy. We can't let the past destroy our future." Clara looked at Lucas, then at John, who was nursing peacefully. She looked through the door at Laura's crib where the baby was beginning to stir, and for the first time she saw what Lucas saw, a family, an unlikely family perhaps, but a family nonetheless. "I'm scared, Lucas," she admitted, her voice choked with emotion. "I'm scared this will all disappear. I'm scared of falling in love with you and you hurting me. I'm scared that one day you'll get tired of me, of the babies, of all of this." "I would never get tired of it," Lucas said with sincerity, "because what I feel for you isn't fleeting. It's real, it's deep. It's the kind of love you build a life on." He leaned in and kissed her, a different kiss than before. It wasn't a kiss on the forehead, of tenderness and respect. It was a kiss on the lips, of passion and promise, a kiss that spoke of the future, of hope, of love. Clara returned the kiss, feeling the last barriers around her heart fall away. She felt fear give way to hope, uncertainty give way to certainty. She felt that finally she had found a place where she belonged, a home, a family. When they broke apart, they were both breathless, their eyes shining with emotion. "I love you, Clara Evans," Lucas said, his voice low but firm. "I love you more than words can express." I think I love you too, Lucas Marshall," Clara replied, tears of happiness streaming down her face. "I think I always have since that moment on the plane." They hugged with John between them, a family united by love, born from an act of generosity at 30,000 feet. A family that, against all odds, had found its way to happiness. That night, as the babies slept, Clara and Lucas sat on the balcony looking at the stars. "Do you think Camilla will accept me?" Clara asked, worried. "She will," Lucas said, holding her hand, "because she'll see that I make you happy, and because she'll see that I love you, and that I love John as if he were my own son. And your ex-mother-in-law, Regina. What will she say when she finds out?" Clara asked. "The truth is I don't care," Lucas said firmly. "My life is with you now, with Laura, with John, with our family. If Regina can't accept that, it's her problem, not ours." Clara smiled, feeling a peace she hadn't felt in years. "You're right. Our family. I like the sound of that." "Me too," Lucas said, kissing her hand. "Me too." They sat in silence for a long time, simply enjoying each other's company. The night breeze, the promise of a future together. A future that, though uncertain, was bright with the possibility of love. A future that had begun with a simple offer of milk on a plane, but had turned into something so much greater, a story of love, redemption, and the creation of an unexpected but perfect family. The days that followed were a waking dream. The mansion, once silent and imposing, now filled with the laughter and cries of two babies, with the sound of hurried footsteps in the hallway, with the aroma of home-cooked food and breast milk permeating the air. Clara floated on a cloud of happiness, dividing her time between John and Laura, who already seemed like twins, and the stolen moments with Lucas, whose love for her grew with each passing day. Camilla, though still cautious, began to relax. She observed the interaction between her sister and Lucas with a gaze that was less critical and more understanding. She saw the way Lucas looked at Clara, the respect in his eyes, the care in every gesture. She saw the way he treated John, not as someone else's child, but as his own, with the same patience, the same affection, the same love. One afternoon, while the babies slept, Camilla found Clara in the garden, watching Lucas teach John how to hold a small plastic toy. "He's good with him," Camilla said, sitting beside her sister. Clara smiled, her heart warming. "He is. He's a wonderful father." "Are you happy, Clara? Truly happy?" Camilla asked, her gaze direct. "Yes," Clara replied without hesitation. "For the first time in my life I feel complete, as if all the missing pieces have finally fallen into place." "And you trust him?" Camilla insisted. "With my life, with John's life," Clara said firmly. "He has shown me every single day that he can be trusted." "That his love is true?" Camilla nodded, a genuine smile lighting up her face. "Then I'm happy for you, sister. Truly happy. You deserve this, Clara. You deserve all the happiness in the world." Clara hugged her sister, feeling the last weight of worry dissolve. "Thank you, Cam, for everything, for always being by my side." "Always," Camilla said, returning the hug. "Now, when are you two going to give me a new niece or nephew to look after?" Clara laughed, her face blushing. "Camilla." "What? It's a serious question," Camilla said, laughing too. "You already look like a real family. All that's missing is the paperwork." That night, during dinner, Lucas made an announcement that took everyone by surprise. "Clara, Camilla, I've invited someone to visit tomorrow," he said, a little nervous. "Someone I think it's important for you to meet." Clara and Camilla exchanged a curious glance. "Who?" Clara asked. "Regina," Lucas said simply. The silence that followed was heavy. Regina, Lucas's ex-mother-in-law, the mother of the woman who had abandoned him and Laura. "Why?" Clara asked, her voice low. "Because she's Laura's grandmother, and because I think it's time to show her that Laura is okay, that she's being cared for, loved, and because I want her to meet you, Clara, and John, and our family," Lucas said, looking at Clara with a pleading expression. "Lucas, you don't have to do this for me," Clara said. "I'm not doing it for you. I'm doing it for us as a family," he said. "Regina, she's not a bad person, Clara. She's just protective and worried. She saw her daughter suffer from depression, and that scarred her. She blames me a little, I think. But she loves Laura, and she deserves to know that her granddaughter is happy." "What if she doesn't like me?" Clara asked, a flicker of her old insecurity showing. "She will love you," Lucas said with confidence. "How could she not? You're the woman who saved her granddaughter, the woman who brought the smile back to her face, The woman who saved me, too. Camilla, who had remained silent until then, intervened. And what if she tries to cause trouble, Clara? If she tries to interfere? She won't interfere, Lucas said firmly, because I won't let her. My life is with Clara now. My priority is her, Laura, John, our family, and Regina will understand that. Or she'll have to. Clara took a deep breath, looking at Lucas. She saw the determination in his eyes, the love, the commitment. She knew he was right. It was time to face the past, to claim her place in this family, to show everyone that they were real, that their love was true. Okay, she said, she can come, we'll welcome her. The next morning, the house was in an uproar. Mrs. Martha coordinated the staff, ensuring everything was perfect for the visit. Clara wore an elegant dress Lucas had given her, a navy, blue that brought out her eyes. Camilla, for her part, chose a discreet but sophisticated outfit, determined to support her sister. When the doorbell rang, Clara's heart skipped a beat. Lucas took her hand, squeezing it gently. "It's okay," he said. "Everything will be fine." He opened the door, and an elegant woman with perfectly coiffed grey hair and a piercing gaze entered the house. It was Regina Beaumont, and she immediately surveyed everything with critical eyes. "Lucas," she said with a cool nod, "the house hasn't changed." "Regina, thank you for coming," Lucas said, kissing her on the cheek. "Please come in." Regina's eyes immediately found Clara, who was standing beside Lucas, holding John. "And you must be—" Regina began. "Clara, this is my sister Camilla, and this is my son John," Clara said, her voice firmer than she expected. Regina nodded, her gaze assessing Clara from head to toe. "A pleasure. And where is Laura?" "She's sleeping," Lucas said, "but she'll be up soon." He led them to the living room, where Mrs. Martha served coffee. The initial conversation was tense, filled with awkward pauses and evaluative glances from Regina. "So, Clara," Regina said, breaking the silence, "Lucas told me, well, he told me a version of events about how you two met. I'd like to hear yours." Clara took a deep breath, looking at Lucas, who encouraged her with a smile. "I was on a flight to London. I had accepted a job as a nanny, a job that, as I later discovered, didn't exist. I was leaving my son in Liverpool with my sister because I had no other choice." She told the story, the financial hardship, the painful decision to leave John, the flight, Laura's cries, the maternal instinct, the offer of milk. She told it all with honesty, without omitting details, without trying to make herself a hero. When she finished, there was a silence in the room. Regina looked at Clara, her expression unreadable. "You offered to breastfeed a stranger's grandchild?" Regina asked, her voice surprisingly soft. "Yes," Clara replied. "She was crying. She was hungry. I had milk. It was the most natural thing in the world to me." Regina nodded, her eyes slightly moist. "Gabriella, Laura's mother, she had milk too, but she couldn't breastfeed. She said it hurt, that she felt like a cow. She hated it. The depression, it destroyed her joy in everything." She paused, looking at Lucas. "I blamed you, Lucas, for a while. I blamed you for pressuring her, for not understanding her. But now I see you did the best you could." She turned back to Clara. "And you brought life back to Laura. Lucas sent me pictures. She's smiling, she's gained weight, she looks happy. That is priceless." At that moment, Laura began to cry in her room. Clara stood up immediately. "Excuse me. I'll go get her." Minutes later, she returned with Laura in her arms. The baby, upon seeing her grandmother, stopped crying, looking at her with curiosity. Regina stood up and approached, her eyes fixed on her granddaughter. "Hello, my angel. Grandma missed you." Laura stretched her arms out to Regina, a gesture that surprised everyone. Regina took her granddaughter in her arms, and tears began to stream down her face. "She's beautiful, Clara. Healthy. Happy," Regina said, looking at Clara with gratitude. "Thank you. Thank you for taking care of her, for loving her." "I love her as if she were my own," Clara said sincerely. "I can see that," Regina said, "and I see the love, in my son-in-law's eyes too, a love I haven't seen in a very long time. She looked at Lucas, then at Clara, then at John, whom Camilla was holding. A complete, happy family. "Lucas, my son," Regina said, her voice thick with emotion. "You found her. You found the right person. The person who will complete you and Laura. The person who will turn this house into a home." Lucas smiled, taking Clara's hand. "Yes, Mother. I found her." Regina handed Laura back to Clara, and, to everyone's surprise, hugged Clara. "Welcome to the family, my dear, welcome." Regina's visit, which Clara had feared so much, turned into a moment of healing and acceptance. Regina spent the afternoon with them, listening to stories about the babies, sharing memories of Gabriella that were not painful, but full of love. She saw, with her own eyes, the happiness that Clara had brought into Lucas and Laura's lives. When Regina left late in the afternoon, she promised to visit again soon. "I need to watch my grandchildren grow," she said with a genuine smile, "and I need to see the happiness of my son-in-law and my new daughter-in-law." The word daughter-in-law made Clara's heart leap. She looked at Lucas, who smiled, a smile full of promises. That night, after putting the babies to bed, Lucas took Clara to the garden. The full moon illuminated the lawn, creating a magical atmosphere. "Today was a good day," Clara said, resting her head on Lucas's shoulder. "It was a perfect day," Lucas corrected, "because today our family became official, not just to us, but to the world." He turned to her, taking her hands. "Clara, I know I've told you this before, but I need to say it again. I love you, more than anything in this world, and I want to spend the rest of my life showing you how much." He knelt on the damp grass, taking a small box from his pocket. Clara gasped, her hands flying to her mouth. "Clara Evans," Lucas said, his voice trembling with emotion. "You came into my life in the most unexpected way, like an angel sent to save me. You taught me what true love is, what family is, what happiness is. You didn't just save my daughter, you saved me too." He opened the box, revealing a stunning diamond ring. "Will you do me the honor of becoming my wife, of being the mother to my children, the keeper of my heart, my partner in life?" Clara felt tears of happiness stream down her face. She looked at Lucas, at the man who loved her unconditionally, who loved her for who she was, with her past, her insecurities, her dreams. "Yes," she said, her voice choked. "Yes, Lucas Marshall, I will marry you." He placed the ring on her finger, a perfect fit. They hugged, they kissed under the moonlight, promising each other a future of love, happiness, and family. However, as they celebrated their engagement, a figure watched from a distance, hidden by the shadows of the trees surrounding the property. A familiar figure whose eyes fixed on the scene revealed a complex mix of emotions, sadness, regret, and a glimmer of hope. A figure who, unbeknownst to anyone, was about to change everything once again. A figure no one expected to see again. Gabriella, Laura's mother, had returned. The morning after the engagement was bathed in a golden light that seemed to reflect the happiness Clara felt. The ring on her finger sparkled, a constant reminder of the promise she and Lucas had made. The babies seemed to sense the joy in the air, more playful and smiling than ever. Even Camilla appeared to have completely surrendered to her sister's happiness, helping to plan the wedding with contagious enthusiasm. Lucas was radiant, treating Clara with a tenderness that made her feel like the most loved person in the world. He cancelled an important business trip to stay with her, declaring that nothing was more important than celebrating their engagement. "Can we get married in a month?" Clara asked during breakfast. "I want it to be simple. Just us, Camilla, Mrs. Martha, and Regina." "Whatever you want, my love," Lucas replied, kissing her hand. "Whatever you want." As they were talking, the doorbell rang. Mrs. Martha went to answer it, returning moments later with a confused expression. "Mr. Marshall, there's someone at the door. She says she needs to speak with you." "Urgently," the housekeeper said, visibly disturbed. "She insists it's a matter of life and death." Lucas frowned. "Who is it?" She said her name is Gabriella, Mrs. Martha said, almost in a whisper. Lucas's blood ran cold. Clara felt a chill down her spine, her heart beginning to beat erratically. Gabriella, the wife who had abandoned them. Laura's mother. What is she doing here? Lucas asked, his voice tense. Tell her to go away. Tell her there's nothing to talk about. Lucas, Clara said softly. Maybe you should hear what she has to say, at least for Laura's sake. Lucas looked at Clara, his eyes full of conflict. Part of him wanted to send Gabriella away, to protect the new life he had built. But another part, a deeper part, knew Clara was right. Gabriella was Laura's biological mother, and that, however painful, could not be ignored. All right, Lucas said finally. Let her in, but I'll meet her in the office alone. He stood up, gave Clara a quick kiss on the forehead, and walked towards the office, his body tense with anticipation. Clara picked up John, trying to calm her own racing heart. Camilla came over, placing a hand on her shoulder. Everything will be okay, Clara, she said, though her own voice betrayed concern. He loves you. He won't let anything spoil this. In the office, Lucas found Gabriella standing, looking out the window. She had changed. She was thinner, with tired eyes that revealed an internal struggle, but there was a new serenity in her face, a calmness that hadn't been there before. Gabriella, Lucas said, his voice neutral, what are you doing here? Gabriella turned, and their eyes met. For a moment, Lucas saw the woman he had married, the woman he had loved. But then he saw the stranger who had abandoned him. I know I have no right to show up here like this, Gabriella said, her voice low. But I had to come. I had to see you. And I need to see Laura. Why, Gabriella? Why now? Lucas asked, pain and anger mixing in his voice. You abandoned her. You left her when she needed you most. I know, Gabriella said, tears streaming down her face. I know. And there isn't a day that goes by that I don't regret it. There isn't a night I don't wake up crying, missing her. Then why did you leave? Lucas asked, his voice softening slightly. Why did you leave me alone with her? Because I was sick, Lucas. Very sick, Gabriella said, sitting in an armchair. The postpartum depression, it was more than I could bear. I felt I wasn't worthy of being a mother, that I would only harm her, that you and she would be better off without me. You could have sought help, you could have fought, Lucas said. I tried, but it wasn't enough, Gabriella said, wiping her tears. I went to a clinic in the countryside. I spent months in treatment, therapy, medication. I had to rebuild myself from scratch. I had to learn to love myself again, to forgive myself. She paused, looking at Lucas. And when I finally felt strong enough to come back, I learned you had moved on. My mother told me. She told me about Clara, about her baby, about your engagement. Lucas nodded, saying nothing. I didn't come to cause trouble, Lucas, I swear, Gabriella said sincerely. I came to ask for forgiveness and to say that I understand. I understand that you've moved on, and I'm happy for you, I really am. Then why are you here? Lucas asked, still confused. Because I need to see my daughter, Gabriella said, her voice choked. I need to see that she's okay. I need to say goodbye. Properly. Lucas looked at her for a long moment, seeing the sincerity in her eyes, the pain, the regret. He saw a woman who had suffered, who had fought to heal. He felt the anger he had carried for months begin to dissolve, replaced by a compassion he hadn't expected to feel. I need to talk to Clara, Lucas said finally. She's Laura's mother now. The decision is hers too. Gabriella nodded, tears streaming down her face. Of course. I understand. Lucas found Clara in the garden, with John and Laura playing on a blanket on the grass. He sat beside her, taking her hand. She wants to see Laura, he said softly. She wants to say goodbye. Clara looked at him, her eyes full of understanding. And what do you want? I don't know, Lucas admitted. Part of me wants to protect Laura from everything, from me, from Gabriella, from this whole mess. But another part Another part thinks Laura has the right to know her biological mother, and that Gabriella has the right to say goodbye. Clara took a deep breath, looking at Laura, who was laughing as she tried to grab John's foot. She's her mother, Lucas. Nothing can change that. And Laura. She deserves that closure. And Gabriella. She deserves a chance to make peace. You're incredible, Lucas said with tears in his eyes. You're the most generous and understanding woman I have ever met. I love you, Clara said simply. And loving you means accepting your past, just as you accepted mine. Let's tell her yes. But I want to be there. I want to be with Laura. Of course, Lucas said, kissing her. Always. The meeting was set for the afternoon. Gabriella waited in the living room, visibly nervous. When Clara entered with Laura in her arms, Gabriella's heart seemed to stop for a moment. She's beautiful, Gabriella whispered, approaching carefully. So big, so healthy. Clara handed Laura to Gabriella, an act of trust that surprised everyone. Gabriella took her daughter in her arms, her hands trembling. Laura looked at her, her eyes curious, without recognition, but without fear. Hello, my love, Gabriella said, her voice choked. I'm Mummy, your biological mummy. Laura didn't react to the word mummy, but to the soft tone of her voice. She reached out her hand and touched Gabriella's face, a gesture of innocence that broke everyone's heart in the room. Gabriella cried, but they were tears of healing, not of pain. She held Laura for a few minutes, memorizing every detail of her daughter's face, the smell of her hair, the weight of her body. She's in good hands, Gabriella said, looking at Clara. Better hands than I could ever be. You were sick, Gabriella. It's not your fault, Clara said with sincerity. Maybe it's not my fault I got sick, but it's my fault I didn't fight harder. That I gave up, Gabriella said, handing Laura back to Clara. But I see the happiness in her eyes. I see the love you have for her, and that's all that matters. She turned to Lucas. I didn't come to claim anything, Lucas. I didn't come to ask to come back. I came to say that I renounce my rights. I want you and Clara to legally adopt Laura. I want you to be her parents, officially. Lucas and Clara looked at each other, shocked. Gabriella, you don't have to do this, Lucas said. Yes, I do, Gabriella said firmly. It's the right thing to do. Clara is her mother now, in every way that matters. And you've found the love you deserve. I want you to be happy. I want Laura to be happy. She stood up, grabbing her bag. I'm leaving tomorrow. I'm going back to the clinic to continue my treatment as a volunteer, helping other women who go through what I went through. It's my form of redemption. Before she left, she approached Clara and hugged her. Thank you, Clara. Thank you for loving my daughter, for giving her the family I couldn't. I will never stop loving her, Clara promised, with tears in her eyes. Gabriella then turned to Lucas. Take good care of them, Lucas. They are a treasure. I will, Lucas promised. And Gabriella, thank you for everything. When Gabriella was gone, a sense of peace settled over the house. The ghost of the past had been exorcised not with anger or bitterness, but with forgiveness and love. That night, after putting the babies to bed, Lucas and Clara sat on the balcony under the stars. I never imagined the day would end like this, Clara said, resting her head on Lucas's shoulder. Me neither, Lucas said, kissing her hair. But it was perfect. Gabriella gave us a gift today. She gave us certainty, the certainty that our family is real, that it's solid, that it was built on love. She's a brave woman, Clara said. I hope she finds happiness. She will, Lucas said, just like we have. He turned to her, taking her hand. You know, when I created that fake ad, I was looking for a nanny. But the universe sent me a soulmate. It sent the mother of my children. It sent the love of my life. Clara smiled, her heart overflowing with love. And I was looking for a job. But the universe sent me a home. It sent me a family. It sent me you. They kissed, a kiss that spoke of overcoming, of gratitude, of a love that had faced the toughest test and had emerged even stronger. Months later, in a small ceremony in the garden, with only their closest friends and family, Lucas Marshall and Clara Evans became husband and wife. Laura and John, now toddlers, were the page boy and flower girl, laughing and running across the lawn. Regina cried tears of joy, and Camilla, as the maid of honor, smiled, watching her sister finally achieve her dream of a happy life. Life in the mansion continued, full of love and joy. The two children grew up like siblings, inseparable. Lucas and Clara were more than husband and wife. They were partners, friends, lovers, parents. A complete family, born from an act of desperation and generosity at 30,000 feet. Sometimes Clara would think about that flight, about the impulsive decision to stand up and offer milk to a stranger. In that moment, she had no idea she was changing not only the life of that baby and her father, but also her own. She had no idea she was taking the first step towards the love, the happiness, the family she had always dreamed of but never dared to expect. She learned that life moves in mysterious ways, that sometimes the greatest blessings come from the most unexpected moments. She learned that love knows no social barriers or painful pasts. She learned that with courage and an open heart, it is possible to turn pain into joy, loss into gain, and a simple offer of milk into a love story for a lifetime. Dear listeners, we hope the journey of Clara and Lucas has touched your hearts as it has touched ours. A story that reminds us that the most unlikely encounters can lead to the most beautiful love stories, and that true family is built on bonds of affection, not just blood. To continue exploring narratives that warm the soul and defy expectations, we have created a special playlist with equally captivating stories. Find it at the link here to your left. If this emotional story resonated with you, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and leave a like. Your interaction is what motivates us to bring new tales every day that celebrate the complexity and beauty of life. Leave a comment about which part of Clara's story moved you the most. We look forward to seeing you in the comments section, ready to chat.